Friends and family, welcome to another episode of Uncomfortable Conversations with a Married Woman. In this episode, I'm going to tell you about myself. I think that will help for you to understand my perspective of marriage and why I think the way that I think. I think for every human being, in any situation, it is good to understand where they come from and what they bring with them to that situation. So let's talk about me today, okay? Grab yourself a drink and some snacks and come on by. By the way, it's 10 o'clock in the morning and this ain't wine, okay? This is, let's just get that clear. But either way, if I want to drink wine, I'm grown, so I can do it. So my background is very interesting, and I think that has affected my view on marriage for sure. I was born into a separation. My parents were separated and on the brink of divorce when I was born. I have two older brothers before me. They lived with my parents together. They experienced my parents together. I never did. When I was born, I was, within a couple of months, I was whisked over to my grandmother, who started to raise me. And my life took that pattern from then on. I actually took the time to document how many households I had lived in by the age of 10, and it was the exact number 10. So it's almost like every year I lived in a different household. This was all among family, of course, and sometimes with the same family members that had moved somewhere else, but I'd be going and coming, back and forth, sometimes with my brothers, sometimes without them. So up to the age of 10, that was my life. At that time, I didn't see anything wrong with it. It was my normal, okay? Every household that I went to was either my, auntie or uncle from my mother's side or my auntie or uncle from my father's side. And I got to watch the dynamics of their marriage. I got to see truly, firsthand what it looks like to be married. And really by the age of 10, in my mind, marriage wasn't something I was ever gonna get into. I'm just saying. Some of the things that I saw were pretty intense. My biological father went through about 4 or 5 marriages in that span of time. And it was very interesting to watch the dynamics from the beginning of the marriage when everything was beautiful and romantic and amazing, and see the deterioration and why it happened till the time of the breaking up and the divorce. For my father's side, some of those divorces got violent, physically violent, and I witnessed them. And for a child under the age of 10 and even a little bit into my teenage years, watching that was traumatic. I didn't understand how two people who absolutely loved themselves so much could get to a point where physically they were punching each other and making each other bleed. I also watched from my mother's side the wounds, the scars of a first marriage that did not work, and how that affected her in her relationships moving forward. I also saw my stepfather and my mom, together. My stepfather, I've told you in my other channel, one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met. Truly, truly most amazing. The most humble, intelligent, kind, compassionate person. And I watched the dynamics of that marriage and learned a whole lot from that as well. I also lived with aunties and uncles, like I said, and I watched in one of the marriages where I could see the mental abuse. I could see the disrespect. I could see the emotional turmoil, on my family's side, on my auntie's side, and I could also see the resilience, where despite the relationship between her and her husband, she was always emotionally available to me. She was always emotionally available to all the children in the house. And she took in all kinds of relatives from both her husband's side and her side that needed somewhere to stay. At any point in time, there was easily 10 people in the house, living in the house. And some of them coming to eat and leaving, some of them coming to live there, including my own biological father, and this was my father's sister. One of the most amazing human beings in my life, an anchor for me. I learned just about everything as a woman from her, how to compose yourself. She was so beautiful, inside and out. To me, she was like an angel, truly. And so kind, so kind. So watching that dynamic in that relationship, and then watching how just one day, out of the blue, right out of school, we get home and we get in the car and we leave the house and never come back. Moved. None of us children knew anything about it. We didn't even have, a hint. We didn't see anything getting packed. I didn't see my clothes getting packed. I didn't see furniture getting packed. I didn't see anything. We got back from school, got in her car, and we were gone. And then a different marriage from my mother's side, watching that and seeing the relationship, which almost antagonistic, not physical, fighting like I saw in my father's marriages, but emotional, like distance, where yes, we're married, we're partners, but I despise you. That kind of a marriage. I don't know which one's worse, talking to each other disrespectfully and just mean, downright mean, no kindness whatsoever. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God. And then another marriage, very cordial, but no touching, no feeling, no hug, no kiss, but very cordial, very respectful, and each person knowing their role in the marriage. It's almost like it was a contract. And I fulfill this role and you fulfill that role and we're set. So watching all these marriages in my life, I learned so much about human dynamics, human relationships. That is what I came from. I saw good marriages, I saw bad marriages. What I didn't truly see was love-filled marriages all the way through. Of course, by the time that I was born, I was born into a marriage which, whatever love there had been, was broken. It's gone. It's done. Okay, so it's very interesting to me coming from that background and trying to create something different in my marriage. I feel like I'm almost pioneering what, in my mind, an ideal marriage should be. There's no such thing, of course, but like I said, marriage wasn't the thing that I was thinking about ever. It wasn't in my mind. It was not an option. It just wasn't even a thought in my mind. And then it just happened. I'm like, okay, yeah, I like this person. We get along, yeah, I don't mind spending the rest of my life with such a person, sincere to the point, what you see is what you get. We're not pretending or anything. I mean, let's listen. You know what I mean? And so finding somebody like that who was just so like an open book, but at the same time very reserved and not loud and boisterous and not trying to be the life of the party anywhere, but there's a quiet strength in him. And meeting somebody like that was so refreshing. I have to tell you, so refreshing. Because the family that I came from, we are loud, we are boisterous, we're emotional. That's on my father's side. And my mother's side was, more quiet and reserved, but that, like, so it's very interesting. So that's where I'm coming from. So in the series, as we talk about the different topics, I hope that helps you understand my perspective, and the luggage that I'm coming here with, and the baggage, okay, that everybody brings into their relationship, some kind of baggage. It can be good baggage, it can be bad baggage, it can be in between, but you bring something with you because you weren't formed out of a vacuum. You were in a situation when you were born, you were in an environment, and your environment helps to shape your character. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about when it comes to these discussions that we're going to have. You're going to see my perspective, and now you're going to understand why. Okay, so thank you again for joining this conversation with a married woman. I also want to remind you, in order for your marriage to get to the next level, you have to be respectful of one another, and you have to be kind to one another. Okay, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.